Good morning. How are you guys? Welcome to Mystical Mornings. It's Friday, January 29th, 2001. And happy Friday to you all. When I worked in the corporate world, Fridays were almost like bittersweet. And now, I don't know, I feel like it's important to celebrate every day, right? Um, I worked from home for a long time when I worked in corporate. And I had made a tradition of doing laundry on Mondays. I felt like it was like I got to have my weekend and do the laundry. Anyways, today I want to talk about balance. I want to talk about balance because there's a lot of theories out there, quote unquote, that in order to be successful in your life, whether that's monetary or through relationships or whatnot, there has to be balance. There has to be. And as a Libra, I am always searching for some sort of balance. However, as an entrepreneur, I also know that things get to ebb and flow, right? There's things that sometimes bleed, quote unquote, if I'm doing a launch or if I'm working on a special project, that like I might not be able to spend so much time with Darren or the dogs. So the idea of balance is always very interesting. And I just wanted to explore it with you guys today a little bit. Especially in the mystic world, I came up with a story pretty early on in my early 20s, very early. I think I was probably 19, that specifically mystics, because they give so much to others, that they are always out of balance. You gotta love the 19-year-old mind, the 20-year-old minds. Um, and I got this story because I went and I had a psychic reading. And that was my first psychic reading. I think I'd gotten my palms read before, but this was like an actual like sit down channeling reading. And when we pulled up to the place, she was recommended by several friends of mine who I worked with. We pulled up. It was a woman who was, I would say, she was 9 months pregnant. I mean, she was freaking pregnant, like crazy pregnant, really teeny. Um, Apparently, it was her fifth child with a fifth man. And she was drinking a huge Dunkin' Donuts coffee and smoking a cigarette. And I was like, what the fuck is happening here? And my friend who took me, she was like, well, she gives so much as this very powerful psychic um that there's an unbalance usually that you'll see. And I took that and we sat down and we had the reading, and it was mind blowing. It was just like she's extremely talented. And I thought about that and I was like, wow, like she gives so much, and she charged a good amount, but there was something out of balance. um there was something that we all perceived out of balance. Now, that doesn't mean there was anything out of balance for her. She was just living her life, doing her thing, living by her rules. And I think a lot of times when we feel like we're out of balance, and we keep saying it like that, there's something that's missing in us, where we maybe are comparing ourselves to other people, where we are being judgmental of other people. Like I was being judgmental of her. I mean, the doctors say don't smoke, especially when you're like 9 months pregnant, don't drink coffee. However, this was her fifth kid, and we don't know what other circumstances were happening, right? So there's always that opportunity to kind of look at the problem from another way. Um, and I'm a camera coach, right? So I coach entrepreneurs to get in front of the camera. Not only to get in front of the camera, to get in front of the camera powerfully so that they can really take their businesses to the next level. And oftentimes people are asking me, they're like, how long is this going to take? Like, how long do I have to be in this state of fear, or in this state of judgment of themselves, really? And I tell them, it takes time to feel balanced. It doesn't mean balance happens, but it takes time to feel that, right? There's sometimes when we try new things, it feels so almost overwhelming. That word's we don't want to use that word too much, but it feels new. It's like you're trying on new shoes and they don't fit right. right? But after you wear them a couple times, they start to fit better. So there's a lot of tools out there that we can use in order to feel balanced, if that makes sense. Um, so one of the tools that I have that I want to share with you guys is that my friend and transformational sister, Rebecca Whitman, does this incredible workshop at the beginning of the years. I've gone to it twice now, and I love it because what she does is she talks about a balanced life. She really talks about how to handle that. And I look at it as like filling up our cups, right? And for a long time, I was so focused on the money piece for me that I was so focused on it that I was worrying about it all the time. So therefore, the money wasn't coming in. And through exploration of figuring out, like, okay, something's out of balance. And by me focusing constantly on the money piece, I realized that I wasn't focusing on the other pieces, including the spirituality, including the mysticism, including enjoying myself while I'm on this journey. And instead, I was so hyper focused constantly on where's the money going to come from. It was like a getting energy. So she does this workshop. Rebecca does this workshop, and she has us create these cards. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing. If you guys are interested, I can put you in touch with her, and I'll let her like actually teach the piece of it. But what happens is she's got 7 cups that we fill. That's what I'm going to call them. And each cup, you basically write I am statements. So you write an affirmation for the year, and each cup is something different. So we've got spiritual, fitness, emotional, romantic, mental, social. And guess what the last one is? Financial. And I think for me personally, coming from a pretty well-to-do family, like I did not grow up poor, but there was a lot of scarcity. There was always a lot of fear. The financial piece always overtook everything, all of my life, like always. And when we did it this year specifically, it was just really like, she's like, I put financial last on purpose. And I was like, oh, got it. And when I explored a little further, I realized that I was totally starving the spiritual part of me. Now, when I worked in corporate for 20 years, I was starving my artist. Instead of giving into a fear of being a starving artist and not stepping into my creative powers, I starved it instead. And that's where Lady Liberty came out when I started rebalancing, recalibrating the pieces. So for me, I realized earlier this year, like, wow, I really get to lean into my spirituality, which is why we're here, really just talking about the mystical aspects of spirituality and just kind of shining a light on where things might be out of balance in our lives. Not everyone is hyper focused on the money. The money's not necessarily the thing, but maybe it's relationships, maybe it's emotional, maybe it's creativity. It could be different things. In my work and as an empowerment coach, the thing that I see so often, and it's something that I personally source, is a forgetfulness of play. I'll talk to parents so many times and they say, I set my kids up to play, but it's like, I don't remember how to play with them. I don't want to play with them. I'm tired. I just don't want to do that. And one of the most magical things I've seen is that when my coaching clients will go and have their kids teach them how to play, it's so much fun. So there's just a balance tweak there. Now, these cards are amazing, and there's 7 of them, right? I almost feel like creativity gets to be in there somewhere. But I look at these every day, and I not only read and really sit with each of the affirmations for each, but I visualize it too. So the visualization piece is so important. It's really a beautiful practice. So again, if you guys are interested in learning more about that, I can put you in touch with Rebecca. And then the other piece I want to talk about today about balance is that one of my personal mentors, Lisa Coleman, who's just such a powerful coach. She wrote a book called The Problem is How You See the Problem. And it's such a great testament to seeing where we look outside of ourselves so often, and there's also almost like a blame, right? Like, well, he did that to me, or she did this, and blah blah blah, and all of those. But when you start looking at a problem from almost like an out of body experience, you can start to see, well, oh, well, maybe I created that situation, and I come from a place of pure responsibility of we actually do all create our own experiences, and science over and over again in a quantum way in the last 20, 10 years is actually proving that that's true, that we live in a hologram space, that we're actually creating each experience. Like, and I see 3 people are watching this right now at this moment. You guys are actually evoking out of me what I'm saying right now. How cool is that? We're so connected. So thank you for watching. But the other thing that she recommended, because I love creating new things, and I love like dipping into something and then dipping out, which makes me unbalanced, quote unquote. And it's very exhausting sometimes. So Lisa also recommended that I read The Passion Test. So The Passion Test is a really easy book. It's a really cheap book. I have it actually on my phone. And it's a great way to check in with yourself, to create goals and really what's important every 6 months. So, especially if you're an entrepreneur, getting clear on what's important for you. And a year is a long time, especially as we get older. We know that time goes by even faster. So they recommend the book actually recommends you do it every 6 months, which is really cool. And it's really just looking at like, when my life is ideal, I am what? I am with Darren. I am traveling. I am on a talk show, right? So those pieces. And I'm talking about these because these help ground us. These kinds of tools help ground us. So I think that balance is sort of a myth. It's not like, at no point are we going to be perfectly balanced everywhere. And if we are, it's going to be a moment, and then something, because life ebbs and flows, life is dynamic, something is going to get unbalanced. Years ago, Darren and I went to Mexico, and we went to this old junk store, and it was so awesome. And my friend Eric Nye was with us, and I grew up with Eric in Vermont, and he lives in LA. And he came in, I was like, Eric, help me pick something out in here. And there were like shark skeletons and like old like tin like jugs, and it was just like filled with so much stuff. And Eric picked up these scales, and he said, these are good. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm a Libra. He's like, I know. So we got these old scales, and they're amazing. I was like, I always wanted scales. They were like, I don't know, $10 or something. I don't remember what it was in pesos, but we have those in our living room, and they're always balanced, always balanced. And one day I came downstairs and I caught Darren putting teeny little pebbles on the scales. Every day he goes to those scales and does whatever he can to keep them balanced for me. And it's a lot of work. The house shifts, the world shifts, right? But his commitment to keeping those scales balanced is such a beautiful thing. So the other thing I want to say about balance is that it's always going to be a little bit out of balance, right? Our lives. And you get to receive support in allowing for that balance to occur. Like Darren every day goes like, those things are, I don't know when he does it. I don't see him do it every day, but he does it. And allowing, right? For him to keep those things balanced allows our life to be balanced. Just a little thing like that. So with that said, go into your day just looking at your cups. Make sure that they're all in pretty good shape, Like, it was a really big moment when I realized I was so hyper-focused on the financial that I wasn't honoring the other pieces that I got to honor, right? Especially the spiritual piece. Like, that part right now for me is just so important. And I am surrounded by energy healers and mystics and pastors and just like very, very powerfully spiritual people, and I'm so thankful for that. So I just invite you guys to look around today and see, are your cups full? And is there Is there something in the essence of the air? Is there something that like is really dying for your attention, waiting for you to turn around and just give it some attention? So again, I'd love to hear from you. And I'll see you again on Monday at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. And I hope you all have an amazing, magical weekend. Bye for now. So long.